And I am going to record this class so it'll be available on the website at some point this week once I get it on there. So go ahead and take a Japanese style seat or a kneeling seat. If this is difficult for your knees, you can come up a little bit and you don't need to come all the way back. You could also sit on a cushion. So if you had a pillow or a block, you could just place it behind you so that there's less flexion in the knees. You could do 2 pillows or whatever you need. Now we're going to take kind of a fun breathing exercise. I'm going to sit sideways so you can see me properly. This is a great energizing breathing pranayama exercise to really wake you up and get you into your practice or into your day. I think it's a great way to start a Monday. And as I said, it's the intention is invigoration. So let's just start in this Japanese kneeling seat. If at all it's very uncomfortable for you, you really could stand for this breath if you start to feel really uncomfortable. But let's try it kneeling, and you can adjust if you need to. So we're just going to start to inhale, open the chest, lift the chin, exhale to round the back. So just a seated cat-cow just to get into the body a little bit. So exhaling as you round, pull the belly in, tuck the chin in, and then open up. Big breath, open chest, round the back, totally empty out the lungs. And then last time, inhale, chest forward. And then find a neutral spine. So you may want to just watch me for this first round, and then you can join in. We're going to do it a bunch of times so you get a rhythm, and it'll really start to move energy in the body. So inhale, arms come out at shoulders. Inhale again, so we're still on the same inhale breath, come up to knees, and then inhale, arms overhead. So it's 3 inhales. Top of the breath, and then exhale into just a brief child's pose, arms come back behind you. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, and exhale. 3 more. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Now this one, inhale, hold at the top, lift the pelvic floor, and exhale, come back onto your heels, sit back. And just let your eyes close and let yourself feel the energy now moving in the body. Totally awesome if you wake up feeling a little tired or you're just kind of feeling stuck. That's a great way to just move some energy and get you going for your day. When you're ready, go ahead and come on over to hands and knees and just make your way directly to a downward facing dog. Take your time finding the dog. Let's start by bringing extra weight to the thumb. Really press into the thumb. Now bring extra weight to the ball of your index finger. So I notice a lot of times in dog, the ball of the index finger kind of pops up, like you're making kind of a suction cup with your thumb and index finger. I want you to drive the ball of the index finger down. That'll stabilize your whole shoulder, both sides. And now find the tips of the fingers and give them a little extra intention, like you're clawing into the mat a little bit. The tips of the fingers may turn a little white. And now press down into the floor and forward. And just feel that little shift in your body. The eye of the elbow rolls gently inward, like it's rolling toward the thumb. Now, if you have hyper flexibility in your elbows, you want to be careful not to hyperextend the elbow joint. So that inner elbow rolls forward, but not to the point where you're feeling like the joint kind of pops beyond its muscle use. Really should still be using good muscle tone here. And now lengthen the spine. I want you to let go of your head. So just give yourself a minute to maybe nod the head, let the head be heavy. Another thing that I see in dog is that people do different funny things with their head. And it's really okay as long as you're not keeping a ton of unnecessary tension in the neck. So just kind of let it go. And then find a bit of engagement, but not over engagement. And just let the length of your spine be neutral. So it's kind of like the crown of the head is pointing to that spot between your thumbs. The crown of the head is pointing to the spot between the thumbs. Now lengthen your side body. So think about your pinkies and lengthen up and back to your hip points. Now always soften the knees. You could step them wider if you feel tightness in your hamstrings. Most of us do. If you have big open space in your hamstrings, maybe you straighten the legs and work the heels toward the mat. It'll be different for everybody. And when you're ready, inhale, take the top of a push-up, high plank. Pause here. Now you know your body. If you need to bring your knees down here, go for it. Or maybe we're gonna hang out here, challenging the strength a little bit. Make sure that index finger ball is pressing. So notice if it popped right up and press it down. Press the floor away, spread the shoulder blades away from each other. So think about making space between the shoulder blades by pressing into the earth. And now knees or not, it's up to you. Bend the elbows next to the body and slowly lower yourself all the way down. Hands next to ribs. Now make sure that your wrist crease is stacked under your elbow. Your elbows are bent. There should be a good bone stack. You could even look back and make sure you have your wrists more or less underneath your elbows. That should place your middle finger right in line with the natural nipple line. Squeeze the arms in toward the body and make some space in your neck. So start to just kind of engage and reach with the crown of the head. Squeeze your inner thighs together. So if they're far apart, walk them close together, zip them up like a cobra tail, and press the top of the feet into the mat so much that your knees lift off the mat. Can you feel that? Now, once you have that, peel the heart up, keep the collarbones broad. You keep them broad by bringing those elbows in. Because notice if the elbows come out, the collarbones come closer together. The shoulders in the front come closer together. So draw those elbows back to make the upper chest wider. Release all the way down. Shift back and find a child's pose. So just send your hips straight back and find a child's pose, any child's pose that you like. So that could be wide knees, that could be arms reaching forward, arms reaching back. Just give yourself 3 long breaths to find the child's pose that feels best in the body. So thinking a little bit today in our practice about well-being and what does that mean? It's a kind of a catchphrase we hear all the time, and maybe something we think we want, but then we're like, what really does that mean if we take the time to really think it through? So sort of pondering that a bit in your own life. What does well-being mean for you? It will be different for each person, right? Start to shift forward to all fours. Make your way to downward facing dog. Make it slow, make it intentional, make it feel right in your body. So if you need to release that head out again and just kind of let go of the jaw tension, forehead tension, and then find your soft engagement in the neck. Make this pose feel good. So adjust in any way you need to. And together we'll start to find a little movement. So bend one knee and then the other. Again, we're making this really intentional with the idea of finding sensations that feel good. So in a way, that's like finding or seeking well-being, right? We just want it to feel good. So if it feels bad, make the necessary adjustments. So walking out the knees, maybe 2 or 3 more times. And then find stillness. And inhale, lift your right leg up behind you. So 3-legged dog. Now I don't want the leg lifted too far. I want the right foot flexed. I want the right hip in line with the left. So instead of opening up that hip to the side to get more height, I want you to just keep that right hip in line with the left. Flex your foot, make sure your toes are pointing straight down at the mat and the inner thigh is lifting. And then lift to the highest point you can without opening the hip out to the side. So lifting from that big toe edge of your foot, feeling that engagement. And then set that foot down, press firm into the hands, find your dog, and then we'll just take the other side, same thing. Lift your left leg, keep your left hip in alignment with your right, flex your foot, spread your toes, press firm into your hands, and lift from the big toe edge of the foot and leg. So you can keep your hips square if you lift from the inner thigh. And release, foot down. Shift forward to the top of a push-up and linger for a moment. You could always use your knees here if this feels like too much. Let's turn this into a really strong upper body experience by pressing into the ball of your index finger, pressing into the thumb, and turning those shoulder muscles on, making space between the shoulder blades. And you can do this even if your knees are down. Pull the belly into the spine, and then start to bend the elbows. Using your knees or not, lower all the way to your belly. Hands next to ribs. Set your hands up so that the wrist crease is under the elbow. Really engage those arms in. I just want you to think a moment, maybe take the elbows out to the sides, let them fall out, just so you can feel what happens to the upper chest. The shoulders roll in and they shorten the space in the upper chest. Now draw the elbows in tight toward the body and just feel how much space opens up there between the shoulders. Now keeping that, press into the top of the feet and lift the chest. You could find a tiny cobra, you don't have to come up far. If you want a little more back bend, you could come up, maybe peeling the belly up, but keeping the elbows tight to the body. Breathing. And release. Shift back, find that child's pose. Give yourself 3 breaths just to be really present and tuned in. There's a phrase that came to me years ago, and the phrase is rightly placed. Rightly placed. So sometimes you find yourself in a place in your life where all of a sudden everything seems to click. It's like you're looking for a place to put this puzzle piece in this giant puzzle, and that satisfaction when you finally find it and it pops into place. Sometimes we experience that level of well-being, rightly placed. And it's lovely to linger in it when you feel it. Notice when it's happening, because then we can know what it feels like and we can more easily recreate that experience for ourselves. It can happen many times in a day. It can be sort of little experience of rightly placed and huge experiences of rightly placed. Come forward onto hands and knees, tuck your toes, make your way to downward facing dog. Again, make this feel good. If you need to walk out the knees, release the head. Make sure that the ball of your index finger is really firm on the mat, as well as the thumb, and claw with fingers. Set your arms and shoulders up. Lengthen the side bodies. Maybe think about when you're lengthening the sides of your body all the way down to your pinky toes from your pinkies on your hands. Nice big space there, no collapsing. And then maybe pull the ribs in. So some people have more of a rib flare forward than others. See what it feels like to pull the ribs in, belly in. Now this time we're just going to tiptoe up the mat. You can take bigger steps or little steps, whatever feels right in your body. We're going to find the top of the mat in a forward fold. Take your time, bend your knees, grab your elbows, release your head. Lots of nice deep breaths, maybe 3 or 4. Think about the 4 corners of your feet. So sometimes that's a tiny little way to feel rightly placed. When we anchor through the 4 corners of the feet, we make a couple little adjustments. Big toe ball pressing, little toe edge pressing, inside of the heel, outside of the heel. Release the arms. We're going to roll up nice and slow. Bend the knees, pull the belly in, head and arms stay really heavy until we reach standing at the top of the mat. Anchor down through your feet, reach tall through the crown of the head. I heard a teacher refer to mountain pose, which we're in now, standing pose, as standing down. And I really like that because I like the idea of standing your energy down. So rather than standing up, standing down. So see if you can be with that for a moment. Bring your arms out, shoulder height, shoulder width. Spread your fingers and draw your shoulders gently into the sockets. Bend your knees. Your feet should be more or less under your hips. Bend your knees, sink your hips, coming into a chair pose. Now draw your hips back. When you glance down, you should be able to see all your toes. If not, send your hips back a little more. Pull the pubic bone to the belly button to find some length in the low back. Maybe take some tension out of the shoulders, make some space between the earlobes and the top of the shoulders. And then press firm into the feet to stand. Come on up to your tiptoes. Lift your heels. Find stability in your core. Let the eyes settle on one unmoving spot. Stay here, working tiptoes, lifting heels even more, strengthening the calves. Or maybe keeping your eyes on that one spot, start to bend your knees and slide your shoulders and hips down an imaginary wall. And maybe it's a tiny bit. Maybe you come down further. Maybe you come down all the way. And I'm not collapsing down onto my heels. I'm keeping some lift. My heels are lifted, and I'm pushing into the toes to lift my thighs off my calves a little bit. And now press all the way to stand. Doesn't matter where you came from. And then release. Release the heels. Bring your hands now to prayer. Again, bend your knees, sink your hips. Inhale to lift the elbows. Now take your torso down to your thighs. Now find your twist. Left elbow outside your right knee. Hands stay in prayer. First job is to draw your left hip back. So look down and line your left knee up with your right. You should be able to set a glass of water on your low back. Now press firm into the hands and lengthen the spine. Tail back, crown of the head forward. You could be looking at your own fingertips or up over your right shoulder. Breathe nice and full and easy. Root down through the 4 corners of the feet. And then come back to center. Take a big breath in, keep the hips low. As you exhale, bring your torso toward your thighs. Now twist, right elbow outside of your left knee. Hands are still in prayer. Right knee draws back. Lengthen the spine. Maybe look at your own fingertips or up over your left shoulder. Keep drawing that right hip back. Make the breath easy and full. Inhale back to center and exhale, fold in. Keeping your knees as soft as you need them. Grab opposite elbows. Feel free to take ragdoll, just letting the upper body kind of sway side to side if that feels good. If you prefer stillness, that's fine. You could nod the head a bit to release the neck, maybe shaking the head no or nodding yes. Just letting the head be heavy. Now we're gonna roll up again, nice and slow. So let the head be heavy, the arms dangle, release the elbows, bend the knees, pull the belly in, pull the ribs in. So this is front body strength, unfurling the back body. Until you find yourself standing down in mountain. Root through your feet. From the rooted sensation from the waist down, reach tall with the crown of the head. So it's like two opposite actions. Turn the palms gently forward and spread the fingers. Coming right into some balancing poses to start our practice today. First, tree. So deciding where you want to go in tree, the left foot is going to take the weight. First, lift up all your toes on the left foot. Spread them wide, find your yogi toes, and then set them back down. So you're basically widening the foot a little bit. Now soften into the left knee and bring your right foot either to kickstand or to calf, or reach down for the foot so you can bring it to the inner thigh. Wherever you've chosen, think about bringing muscle energy from the left leg to the right foot. So bringing the energy into the center. And from there, grow tall. Lift the pelvic floor. Reach through the crown of the head. Hands at prayer, lift the elbows. The shoulders have a nice structure, opening up the collarbones. When you're ready, we'll take the arms to a wide V. Keep bringing muscle energy between your standing leg and your foot. Shift your gaze up. Reach through the fingers. It's okay if you wobble. It's okay if you fall. Come back. Nice and slow to release. Other side, same thing. Let's lift those toes. Find your yogi toes on your right foot and then set them back down. Nice wide base of the foot. Start to soften into your right knee, letting the leg know that it's going to take the weight. And then take the same variation. If you took kickstand, take it again. If you took thigh, take it again. And work on that muscle engagement from standing leg to foot. So really pull that in. It should even give you a sensation of a pelvic floor lift when you really engage that energy in toward the center line. Hands to prayer at first. Create a framework with the shoulders and elbows. Find center, find easy breath. And then when you're ready, wide arms reach up into a V shape. This should actually help the balance. And then when you're ready, shift the gaze upward. That's the challenge, the shifting of the gaze, trying to keep our balance. So sometimes that's what messes with our well-being, right? We have to make a shift or a change. And that throws us off. We got to refine our well-being. Release nice and slow. Standing, hands at prayer. Now from here, we are going to tip the torso forward. And then from when the hips are in a nice halfway bend, so torso's halfway down, we're gonna take the arms out to the sides like a T. Now lift your left toes, yogi toes, set them down, shift the weight over into your left foot and start to lift your right foot up. Just pull your heel into your seat. Now maybe you wanna stay here or slowly extend your right foot out behind you. Now eventually this is Flying Warrior 3, and it turns into a bit of a back bend, but you can stop here if you like. Flex your right foot, point your toes down to the mat, inner thigh lifts, so get that engagement, and then press firm into your standing leg. That should lift your body a little bit. And now broaden the collarbones, lift the heel, reach the fingertips back and shift the gaze forward. It's a balancing standing back bend. Bend your lifted leg, come up to stand, release your foot next to your left. Give yourself a moment, find the breath, maybe wiggle out the standing foot a little bit. And we'll take the other side. Hands to prayer to begin. Hinge forward. Stop when you get it about halfway with the hips. Lift all your right toes off the mat, spread them wide, yogi toes. Set them back down, soften your knee, and start to shift the weight. Tell your leg it's on. And now extend the arms out like a T. Now come to the toes of your left foot and then bring the heel to the seat. Now start to extend the leg straight back. Once you get here, flex your foot, spread your toes. They're dialed straight down toward the mat. Press firm into your standing leg. See if you can turn that leg on to lift the body a bit. And now, really, we find the back bend. Lift the chest, lift the fingers, look forward, engage the back foot, standing back bend, everything working. And then bend the leg, shoulders over hips, release the foot. Give yourself a breath or two. You could roll out the standing foot if that feels good, or just let yourself find center. Next, balance. We're coming into dancer's pose. So left foot takes the weight first. We're going to spread the toes nice and wide and set them back down. Arms overhead, both arms overhead. Take your right arm out like you're holding a tray. So bend the elbow. I'll turn so you can see my back. Bend the elbow and bring it into the right side of the body. So the elbow's kind of by the right hip point. Now, again, we're going to soften into the left knee. Let the left leg know it's about to take the weight. And then first come to tiptoes. And then bring the heel into the seat. And then reach the right knee in line with the left knee. Now take your right hand back to clasp the inner edge, big toe edge of your right foot. Squeeze your thighs together. Square your hips over your shoulders. Very important step. Squeeze the thighs, because sometimes we're out here. So if that's the case with you, your work is to draw those thighs together and stack your shoulders over your hips. Press into your standing leg. Now, only if you're ready, start to press your foot into the hand and kick your toes up toward the ceiling. So that's the action. Foot back, toes up. Naturally, the more you kick, the more your torso will tip. Eyes in one spot on something that's not moving. Keep the engagement between the foot and the hand. Release. Stand, right foot next to left. Breathe. Stand down. Mountain pose. Shift the weight over now into your right foot. Lift all 10 toes up, spread them wide. Get a nice base for your right foot. Both arms overhead. Left arm out to the side like you're holding a tray. The elbow comes in toward the side of the body. Shift your weight over onto that right foot. Come to just the tiptoes of your left foot, and then bring the heel into the glute. And now line your left knee up with your right. And now take that hand back and take the inside edge of your foot. And again, it's really important to work here if this is your work. I know we all want to hop into this big, open, beautiful king of the dance pose, but before you go there, you really have to get the thighs together and the shoulders over the hips. If you have that, now you're going to kick the foot into the hand, kicking the toes up, up, up. And the more that becomes available, the torso will naturally tip this action. In order to keep the balance, you have to keep the pressure between the hand and the foot, the kicking back into the hand. Eyes in one spot. And release. Stand down, breathe. Awesome. Now tiptoe to the back of your mat. And we're gonna work with the warrior three pose. So standing at the back of the mat, let's take the arms overhead. Interlacing the fingers, release the index finger, the thumbs are crossed, and the palms are pressing nice and firm. Walk your biceps back by your ears. So when you start to reach up, if your arms are kind of closer to your cheeks, your work is in really getting those shoulders back by the ears. That will help you to have a long spine. It's hard to balance when the arms are more forward. So once you get those arms back by the ears, you'll be able to balance a little better. Go ahead and spread the toes of the left foot. Shift the weight onto the left leg. Let your right knee float just up to hip height in front, and then spread your yogi toes there too. Keep your biceps squeezing toward your ears. Step your right foot to the center of the mat. Start to bend your right knee as you shift your torso forward. Try to keep your biceps as close to the ears as possible and float your back leg off the mat. Keep your left hip in line with your right as much as possible. Spread the toes. Toes are pointing down toward the mat. Activate, lift your inner thigh, the big toe edge of the foot. Now really reach with those pointer fingers and play tug of war. Heel pulls back, fingertips point forward. You can look down and slightly forward with the eyes. Press firm into your standing foot. And then step back of the mat. Release the arms down and breathe. Stand down, mountain pose. Let the breath return to a normal rhythm. Other side, arms overhead. This time we're going to take the unhabitual pattern. So whichever way you interlace your fingers, unlace them and put the opposite pinky on the outside. That'll switch the thumbs as well. Now release the index finger and give yourself a moment to feel how that transition feels. It throws off our well-being, right? Anytime we make any little change that our brain isn't used to, it sends a signal. Something's wrong, something's out of place. So what, and that's just life, right? We have to do that all the time. It's just the nature of being alive. So we have to get good at noticing when we're uncomfortable, noticing what maybe sent us into this unhabitual place, and then refinding well-being, right? Bring your arms up, biceps are by the ears. Lift all your toes on the right foot, set them back down so you have nice, solid four corners of that right foot. Float your left knee up so it's in line with the left. Spread those toes. Step to the center of the mat with the left foot. Start to bend your left knee as you, it's just a little bend. It will help you to make the transition. As you tip your torso forward, try to keep your biceps closer to the ears and float your back leg up. Now, take care of the back foot first. Engage, spread the toes, and lift from the inner thigh. And now press firm into your standing leg and play tug of war. Heel back, fingertips forward. Pull the ribs and the belly in. And then step back of the mat. Float your arms down, stand back. Anchor through the four corners of the feet, reach tall through the crown of the head. Now one more balance pose. We're not going to leave any of the major or essential balancing postures out today. I'm going to hit them all. So we're going to move into eagle, and there are a couple ways to come into it. So let's first work on the arms of eagle, both arms overhead. Take your left arm and cross it under your right, and try and cross up nice and high so that you're crossing at sort of mid bicep and tricep. And now bend the arms and start to just see if you can wind the forearms around each other. If not, just grab your opposite shoulders. That's fine too. Maybe one day the thumbs are pointing toward the nose. So the palms are pressing and the thumbs are pointing toward the nose. This is your eagle beak. They call it the eagle pose. Now, shift your weight into your right foot. Spread your toes and find that four-corner engagement of your right foot. Take your left leg up to about hip height. And now again, cross as high up the thighs as you can. And now, as you sink the hips, you could point your right toe and see if you can wind around the back of your standing calf. That will send your knees off to the right a little bit to get that bind, and that's okay. Then we'll straighten it out. Now turn your knees to the front of the mat. Your right hip pulls forward, your left hip pulls back. Now lift the elbows even if you have the shoulders. If you don't have the bind with the toes, that's fine. Just keep your inner thighs squeezing tightly together, relying on your right foot, four corners of the foot. Let your eyes see past the obstacle of your arms, and then press into the standing foot to release. Everything unwinds. Maybe lift your right foot and shake it out, roll it out. Stand down, find your breath. And we'll move to the other side. Both arms up, right arm underneath the left. So switching sides. Remember to cross as high as possible, and then bend both elbows and maybe snake the arms around each other. Again, take the opposite shoulder if you prefer. And then lift the elbows a bit. That should give you a good shoulder stretch. Lift all the toes in your left foot. Put them down, nice and wide. Shift the weight into your left foot. Right knee floats up. Now flex the foot and cross with the upper thigh. Now point your toe. This will help. Point your toe like a ballerina and sink your hips. Now, in order to get the bind, the knees may turn gently to the left so that you can get those toes behind your standing leg, and then shift back to center. Elbows point forward, knees point forward. Right hip draws back, left hip draws forward. Lift the elbows, sink in. And again, let your eyes see past the obstacle of the arms for balance. So again, another way we can work on well-being, right? There will be obstacles. Can we see past them? And then release. Unwind everything, shake it out. Maybe roll out, shake out your standing foot, left foot, and then stand down for a breath or two. Now stand wide on your mat. So go ahead and take just a little bit wider than hip stance for side bending pose. And we're going to come through this a couple times today. So we're going to start with hand at left hip, right arm out, roll the palm open, anchor through both feet as you inhale and reach for the sky, opening up your right side body all the way down to the pinky edge of your foot. Now shift the hips over to the right and reach your fingertips to the left. So finding a big open line up the right side of your body, and think about being between two panes of glass. So often I'll see people leaning a little bit forward. Maybe your nose would be touching the glass. Draw the torso back. Some people go way back. Maybe that's some kind of compensation. Back of the head would be touching the glass. So just try and line your body up between those two panes of glass so that you're not touching in front or behind. Come back to center. Right hand at your right hip, left arm reaching out. Roll the palm open, anchor through your feet. As you take a big breath in, reach up like you're trying to touch the ceiling. And now go ahead and shift your hips over to the left, reach your fingertips to the right. So same thing, check it out. Are you touching the glass behind you? Are you touching the glass in front of you? Or are you stacked? And you don't have to come over super far, you know, work with what your body likes. Eventually you'll find a deeper side bend. Surprisingly, side bends can be pretty challenging. Anchor through your left foot. Come back to center. Hands to hips. Step your feet now under your hips. Line them up with your hips for standing back bend. So thumbs can point in. What we want is some support here for the low back. Maybe you've been working on fingertips pointing up. You could use that as well. So a couple things good about working on this hand position. Not only is it a stretch for the wrist and forearm, which we always need, but also I can use my fingertips to press my back ribs up and forward, and it makes some space so I'm not collapsing into the low back. So there is reason to work toward this. If it doesn't work for you right away, that's okay, but maybe working in that direction. Anchor through both feet, so stand down through the feet. Find those four corners. If you want to spread the toes and set them back down, go for it. Begin to send your back ribs up and forward. Broaden those collarbones. So you remember how we are not letting the shoulders roll in. We're squeezing the elbows back toward each other. That'll open the collarbones. Lift the gaze. Lift the chin. keep integrity in the neck, stay here, or gently shift your hips forward. So you'll rock the weight gently into the balls of the feet a little more, and then come back with control into a deeper standing back bend. Slowly come up, pull the belly in, hands to hips, fold forward. All the way forward, let the head hang heavy, grab the elbows. If you want to ragdoll, go ahead and ragdoll. So that just means a little movement involved in the forward fold. You could shake out the head side to side or nod yes. Now feet under hips, we'll come to a flat back position. Fingertips to shins, long spine. So reaching through the crown of the head, you're looking straight down, tail back. Now just walk your hands to your hips and point the thumbs in. Really squeeze those shoulder blades in toward each other. Squeeze the elbows toward each other. And then use your back strength, bend your knees a little bit to hinge up, strengthening the back. Step your feet wide, just a little wider than hips, and we're gonna take the side bend again. Left hand, left hip first, right arm out, roll the palm up, take a big breath in, reach up toward the ceiling, and then shift the hips to the right, fingertips reach to the left. Maybe there's a little more space here this time. Just finding as much depth as you can through the side of the body. And then come back to center. Switch sides, right hand, right hip, left arm out, palm facing up, take a big breath in. Exhale as you reach up and over, right fingers as you exhale as you come over. Inhale up, exhale over, reach the fingertips in the opposite direction of the hip. Think about the 2 panes of glass, firm the belly. This strengthens our obliques. And then slowly come up. Step your feet under hips for second round of standing back bend. Either thumbs point in or maybe fingertips point up. Set yourself up, stand down, so find the corners of your feet. Now think about shoulder blades squeezing close together, elbows reaching for each other. Lift the nose like somebody has a string tied to your nose and they're lifting up. If you're taking more of a back bend, shift your hips gently forward. So it's kind of like tucking the tail under a little bit and then arc back more. Deep standing back bend. This is great practice if you want to learn falling back into a back bend. It takes a lot of faith in yourself, but it can be done and it's kind of fun. So coming into wheel from a standing position starts here. Slowly come up. Hands to hips, hinge forward, fold forward, find ragdoll. So that's a big transition, right? From that big back bend to the forward fold. So sometimes a little gentle movement can help you to release, nodding the head, moving the head in any way that feels good, little circles, whatever. Let the breath be easy. Now feet are under hips. Inhale to halfway lift, so find your flat back. Reach through the crown of the head, tail back, crown forward, couple breaths. On your next exhale, bring your fingertips down to the mat and shoot your right foot back for a high lunging position. So make sure that you don't step back too far, but far enough that your left knee will be supported directly over your left ankle. And then your fingertips are gently brushing the mat right in line with your left ankle. So one on the left side, one on the right side of the ankle. Very little weight in the fingertips. Now I want you to think about that same action we've been doing where we're broadening the collarbone, and that it can be helped by gently sinking the hips a bit And I don't mean far. I don't mean bringing the hips all the way down to the mat or anything like that. I want you to send some weight through your right heel and gently lower the hips. That should give you some space in the collarbones, broadening the shoulders back. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, bounce your back knee, step forward and fold. Inhale to halfway lift and exhale to bow. Soften the knees, inhale, big sweep to the top, palms touch, reach up, look up. Maybe you'll take a little back bend here, hold the breath. And then exhale, swan dive all the way down. Inhale to halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, hands to the mat, left foot steps back, set yourself up. So think about making sure the right knee is right above your right ankle, and then very little weight on those fingers. They're kind of there for balance, but they're not supporting weight. Now send some weight through your back heel and see if you can get both of these actions at once. Send some weight through your back heel and pull your left hip point forward. So can you just sink the hips, left hip point forward, weight through your back heel, and see if that can give you a little space across your collarbones. So it's okay, you could even lift up those fingers and shake out the hands, seeing if you have the weight in your legs. Take a big breath in, lengthen the neck, step forward and fold. Inhale, halfway, fingertips to shins, lengthen out, let this feel really good, and exhale to bow. Soften the knees, inhale, big sweep to the top, palms touch, reach up, look up, maybe a little back bend, hold the breath, and exhale, dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands to the mat, right foot steps back. Same line up, make sure that left knee is over the left ankle. Same engagements, draw your right hip point forward as you sink the hips a bit. And then when you're ready, lift the torso to find your airplane wings. Your shoulders are stacked right over your hips. Your right hip point pulls forward. That will naturally gently pull that left hip crease back. Belly pulls in, ribs tucked down, so we're not flaring the ribs too much. We're nice and strong in the core. And then open up the chest by reaching fingertips back. Inhale, exhale, bring the arms forward. Gently set those shoulders right over the hip points. And then reach the arms up, biceps in line with the ears. You could keep your gaze forward or gently shift it upward. Either is fine. Keep pulling left hip crease back. Strong legs, big breath. Exhale, hands to the mat, step forward and fold. Inhale, halfway, flat back. Exhale, bow. Soften the knees, inhale, big sweep to the top. Palms touch, reach up, look up, maybe take a little back bend, hold the breath, and exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway, long spine. Exhale, hands to the mat, left foot steps back. So setting yourself up, right hip pulls back, left hip pulls forward. Sink the hips just a tiny bit to make some space in your chest. And then rely on those legs, bring the torso up. Again, continually we have this action of squaring the hips by bringing left hip point forward. Firm the belly, tuck the ribs down, make long space between the vertebrae and the spine. And then open the chest. Big expansion through the upper chest, but keeping the belly really engaged. Inhale, exhale, arms glide forward, line the shoulders up. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, square the hips. You can sink the hips a tiny bit and find nice alignment there. Inhale, exhale, slowly take the hands to the mat, step forward and fold. Inhale, flat back, last time, let it feel good, draw the chin in, make space. So this is a pose that we often just kind of use as a transition pose, right? But its intention is to actually make space between the vertebrae. So give yourself a moment to find that. Make space between the vertebrae. And now fold in again. Soften the knees. Inhale, big sweep to the top. Palms touch, reach up, look up. Maybe back bend a tiny bit, hold the breath, and exhale, dive. This time, plant your hands on the mat, walk back to find your downward facing dog. So just let yourself find your dog. I love coming back to dog after a lot of balancing, having both hands and feet sturdy on the mat. Give yourself a breath or two here. And now shift forward to high plank and exhale, start to lower. As always, use the knees if you prefer. We'll take one last cobra pose. Squeeze the elbows in, make sure that the wrist creases are under the elbows more or less. Tighten the legs together. Press firm into the top of the feet so much that your knees engage. Can you feel your quadriceps lift your kneecaps? It's an important engagement. Now make space in the collarbones and peel yourself up. Find your cobra. If you want to come up nice and high this time, maybe that's feeling good, or stay lower, totally up to you. There's a bend in the elbows. If you wanted to come to up dog, you really could. Straight arms if wanted. And then release. Child's pose. Let your hips come back. Really find the pose that feels best in your body. So options are arms forward, arms back by heels. You could even stack your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. That feels good too. Just give yourself a breath or two in your child's pose once you find it. So child's pose can be a good example of well-being. There are things in our lives that we know give us well-being, and so they're in our tool belt. We can go get them when we need them, when we find ourselves in a bit of turmoil and we are looking for a way to take a deep breath and find center. Hopefully we all have a few of those things. Maybe it's a walk in the woods, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's a hot cup of tea or a particular person that helps us to find well-being. That makes us feel rightly placed, right? We may have people that do that for us or rituals that do that for us. Start to come slowly up, shoulders over hips. Let your hips come over to the left and your legs will come around in front of you. Bring your right foot onto the mat and then let your knee open up out to the side. So your left leg is long. Your right knee is opening up out to the side, and really bring some connectivity between the sole of your right foot and the inner thigh of the left leg. And make sure your sits bones are anchored down. And then sit up tall. And then take your arms overhead. So again, the biceps in line with the ears, active all the way through the fingers. Inhale. Exhale, turn toward the extended leg and fold. So you can take your hands to the knee, to the calf, to the ankle, or the outside edges of the foot. No matter where you are, find your yogi toes, spread your toes wide, and then roll your right rib down toward the floor, your right rib cage down toward the floor, so that your heart is folding over your leg. And this position for the neck can be kind of forehead reaching for the shin rather than forward. It's okay to have a little bit of a rounding to the spine here. Just keep rolling that right rib cage down so that you're really turning your torso to fold over the leg. And back up. If you're feeling a lot of intensity in your hamstring, just come back up a little bit. It's perfectly fine to be holding on to the area around the knee and be up a little higher, as long as your center line of your chest is facing the leg. Let the breath be full and easy. Slowly come up from this position, take your time. And we're just gonna take the right foot and cross it over the extended leg. sole of the foot pressing firmly down. So if you bring your foot way up to the outside of your hip and you can't get the whole sole of the foot down, then I'd rather have you take a wider position so that the foot is out by the calf or the knee, and you can really press into the whole sole of the foot. So rooting down through those four corners even here. Now flex your left foot and spread the toes, and see if you can feel both your sits bones. You can kind of rock side to side on your sits bones. They're both anchored down. We're gonna keep this position with the legs. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, right hand comes behind the spine, pressing into the mat. Left hand can either hold the knee or elbow on the outside of the knee. Wherever you choose, make sure both sits bones are pressing into the earth and you can grow tall with the spine before you twist. I use my fingertips because my arms aren't super long, but if you have long arms, maybe you press with your palm into the mat behind you. I'm using my fingertips to get some height. And turn and look over your right shoulder. See if maybe you can broaden the collarbones even here. Keep your left foot engaged, keep your right foot engaged. Integrity in the legs and feet. Wring out the spine. Gently unwind. Lengthen your right leg out in front of you and bend your left knee, planting the sole of the foot on the mat, and then let the knee open out to the side. Bring some muscle engagement between the sole of your left foot and your right inner thigh. So just make sure there's some intentional contact there. Take your arms up overhead, spread the fingers, turn your torso toward your right leg and fold in. So maybe the knee, the calf, the ankle, or the foot. Keep turning your left rib cage down so that your heart is falling directly over the leg. Remember, it's okay to let the forehead come down a little bit of a rounded spine here, softening into breath. Slowly come up, take your time. Take your left foot and cross it over your right leg. Find that position where you're able to really stand down through that foot, all four corners. Flex your right foot, spread your toes, yogi toes, even press into the heel a little bit. Find your sits bones, are they both in contact? Pull the belly in, arms overhead. Take a big breath in. Exhale, the left hand comes behind you, press into the mat. Right hand either holds the outside of the knee or elbow on the outside of the knee. Reach up tall with the crown of the head. Turn to look over the shoulder. Broaden your collarbones. Keep your right foot flexed. So we did a big back strengthening practice yesterday and Mother's Day. I've got your back practice, and you might be feeling some result of that in some of the little stabilizers of the spine. So just be gentle with yourself if you were in yesterday's practice. And then gently unwind. Both legs out in front of you. Just take a moment. Now we're going to set up for our seated meditation. So if you need to sit on a block or a folded blanket, and it's really important, or a cushion, you'll see that people sit on meditation cushions because a lot of times if your low back tends to round, if you haven't built up the strength to keep a nice straight torso, that's what actually becomes the most hard in a seated meditation. So feel free to lift your hips, in other words. Cross legs. Gentle crossing of the legs. Doesn't have to be a fancy lotus seat or anything like that. Just a gentle, comfortable, well-being feeling in a cross-legged position. Let the eyes drop closed, and the hands can fall wherever they feel best. You could hold on to the knees. Sometimes it feels good to hold on to the shins. That'll help you pull a long spine a little bit more intentional, if you just can use the hands a little bit on the legs. But if they're comfortable in the lap, that's fine. however you like them. You could take a mudra if you wanted, mudra of wisdom, letting them sit on the knees. It's kind of nice. Just give yourself a moment to come into whatever feels best. Super important. Let the eyes drop closed and start to find your breath. Not changing anything, just noticing the inhale and the exhale. Inviting you into a pattern or practice of discovering and finding your well-being each day. It doesn't mean that life doesn't throw us curveballs and that some days aren't harder than others. But if we begin to build a practice of turning to our tools that help us to feel good emotion, then we begin to raise our vibration so that well-being becomes more and more common in our days. Noticing when our emotions are giving us feedback of goodness, of feeling rightly placed, of feeling connected, of feeling joy. Notice what's going on in your world. Really open your eyes and ears and look around what is creating all of the pieces that allow you to feel the good emotions. Take a big breath in and a full exhale. When we find ourselves in a situation that is causing less than positive emotions, and sometimes those kind of have a domino effect. Our emotions start to feel jealous or angry or disappointed or fearful, angry, whatever is there. When that emotional pattern starts to happen, also just notice it happening, and then think about the last time you had the pieces in place where you were feeling good emotion. And what can you do to make that transition back out of that domino effect of negative emotion into positive emotion? And before you know it, you may have a little more well-being available to you. The most important tool I know of, take a deep breath in and a full exhale, is gratitude. If I have the wherewithal to notice a negative thought pattern happening, unfolding, if I take a moment and find something in my immediate surrounding that I am grateful for, it starts to break that pattern in half. That negative thought pattern can't exist simultaneously with deep appreciation. You'll hear me say it over and over again. Gratitude is rocket fuel. So don't forget to use it. Take a deep breath in and a full exhale. Just notice your inhales and exhales for the next few moments, and I will let you know when it's time to come out. Big breath in, full exhale. Just start to move your body in any way. So move fingers, wrists, arms. You could reach overhead. You could rock the head side to side, just moving the spine and shoulders. And then when you're ready, hands to prayer. We'll take a big breath in together. Exhale, bow your forehead toward your fingertips. Slide your thumbs to the center of your forehead and we'll bow together. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. May the rest of your day have lots of well-being available. May you feel rightly placed. And I will unmute the microphone if anybody has any questions.
That was a good class.
Awesome.
Yep. It shows how much I miss it.
But you're coming more regularly now. It's good.
Yes. It's only dog issues that stop me from coming.
Yep.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, bye, Brenda.
Bye.
If I take someone else's class, is that on my card, or I need to up with them, or how does that work?
You can use your card, Jean. Yeah, you have a multi-card.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Yep.
I probably should sign up for another 10. How do we pay these days?
Do you have PayPal or Venmo,
No, I don't have either.
Jean?
Could I? No, I don't.
Okay,
Can
so
you hear me?
could you can just mail me a check or drop it off. You know where I live. You can put it in my mailbox.
Okay, that'd be great. Is it what, 140? How much is it for 10 classes?
It's 100. Well, it's right now they're half price because they're not in the studio. So if you want 10 classes, it's actually only $67.50.
So I was going to pay you full price.
If you do the 135, it's actually 20 classes.
Well, I was going to pay you full price for the classes. So
if you want 10
about
classes,
that.
it's 135.
135. All right,
Yep.
sounds good. I'll drop you off a check.
Okay, awesome.
That was
Bye,
a great
Jean.
class. Thank you,
Good.
Emily.
Hi, Emily, it's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi there. So I'm interested in one of those mats, and I wondered how we could.
Yeah. So did I show you the mat that I have available right now?
You showed me the pink and red one, yes.
Yeah, so the pink and red one is still the only one I have.
Okay.
I'll someday have more. So if you want that pink and red one, I am happy to ship it to you.
Okay.
And then you can pay via PayPal or Venmo, or you can mail me a check.
PayPal. Yep, I have,
you have PayPal. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do, Lori, is go to my website, and it's truecenteryoga.com.
Okay.
And there'll be a contact button on there. So that will send me an email directly. So if you use that contact button on truecenteryoga.com, you send me your your physical address, and then I'll get your email via that contact. And I will send you a PayPal invoice, which you can pay, and I'll mail your mat tomorrow.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah,
so much.
truecenteryoga.com, just send me, push the contact button and send me an email with your info.
Okay, thank you again.
Awesome, thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.